This is Rural Health Leadership Radio.
Episode 166. A conversation with Kacie Hoyle Denton, medical student at East Tennessee State University.
Continue to connect with members in the community. Form relationships with people. Learn from their perspective so that you can best learn how to serve others and thereby leading them.
Welcome to the Rural Health Leadership Radio with your host, Dr. Bill Oxier. Each week, Dr. Oxier has a conversation with a different rural health leader to discuss what's working and what's not working in rural health, along with other topics of interest to rural health leaders. Rural Health Leadership Radio's goal is to improve health in rural America by providing a simple, no-cost means to share information and connect rural health leaders from around the country. And now, here's Dr. Oxier with today's guest.
Hi, everybody. I am your host, Dr. Bill Oxier, and welcome to the Rural Health Leadership Radio podcast. I would like to thank the Bill Oxier Healthcare Executive Coaching Firm for underwriting the cost of today's episode. But more importantly, I want to thank today's guest, Kacie Hoyle Denton, for taking time out of her busy schedule to have a conversation with us today. Welcome to Rural Health Leadership Radio, Kacie.
Hey, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Kacie Hoyle Denton is a medical student at East Tennessee State University. So tell us about yourself, Kacie. Who is Kacie Hoyle Denton? What's your story?
Well, as you already heard, I'm a medical student at East Tennessee State in Johnson City, Tennessee. I'm actually a fourth-year medical student now, and I completed my master's in public health this past May, just graduated, which is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm actually from a rural area myself in East Tennessee, a little town called Hoyle, Tennessee. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We are parents to two wonderful pugs.
Oh,
no
boy.
children yet.
Okay. All right.
And I'm actually really fortunate. I live near all of my family who are also from the rural Unicoi area. And at ETSU, I'm part of the Rural Primary Care Track, and we engage in various local communities to help in the medical field.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Why did you decide to become a physician for an occupation, Kacie?
The basis of my desire to become a physician stems mainly from my own personal experiences in healthcare. Specifically, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 8 years old.
Oh,
and that's probably as a result of having necrotizing enterocolitis at birth, as well as short bowel syndrome. So I've been dealing with that for almost 20 years now. And so, as a kid, I've had a lot of time to be a patient. Knowing what it's like to be a patient, I thought, how can I best help others? Well, why not try and be the doctor that I always wanted to have?
Yeah.
And that's one of my big reasons for, loving medicine, not to mention it's really cool and interesting and nerdy, but who cares? It's great.
Well, that's. I'm sorry you had to go through that as a kid and as an adult too. But what motivation? So thank you for sharing that with us. So that explains why you decided to become a physician. Why focus on rural?
Well, I'm from Appalachia, and I'll go ahead and tell you now, a lot of people who aren't from the area mispronounce Appalachia. So just know it's pronounced Appalachia, not Appalachia.
Yes,
but
I had someone, Kacie, the other day who told me that if I didn't pronounce it correctly, she was going to throw an Appalachia, and it took took me a few minutes to connect the dots on that. But now I'll never forget though.
And I'm like, oh gosh, makes me twinge a little bit.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm from the foothills of Appalachia in East Tennessee. So I am rural. Why wouldn't I want to contribute to the lives of those that I relate to myself, since I have a special about helping out our own? I think that it encourages a really special connection. But I will say I didn't realize I loved it so much until I joined the rural program at ETSU. I remember one of the directors, Carolyn Flagger, she said, "Hey, where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Unicoi." And she said, "Oh, well, you have to be in the rural program." And I was like, well, okay. So I applied, got in, and have loved it ever since. can't stop, won't stop. So,
All right. Well, good. Well, thank you for your focus on rural health, because we need the homegrown kids, as they call them, in the recruiting space there. So the name of this program, Kacie, is Rural Health Leadership Radio, and I emphasize leadership. So I have to ask you, what's your definition of leadership?
I've been thinking about this, and I really think that being a leader is somebody that puts the needs of others above their own. This person, a good leader, is somebody that cares about people so much that they take time to notice their strengths and also to recognize how they can best serve those individuals. Leadership is something bigger than the one person that leads. It's something that can focus on bringing life to other people. And I think you can only do this when you're being authentic and giving your own life to those you lead.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that definition, putting the needs of others above your own needs. That's pretty cool. So thanks for sharing that definition with us. Kacie, you and I met in Atlanta in May of this year at a National Rural Health Association meeting. And the National Rural Health Association recognized you with the Student Achievement Award. Quite an honor to receive that award. What did receiving that award mean to you?
Well, honor is, it really is a huge honor. To me, this is more than a statement about myself, but really about everyone who has been a part of my journey. It's really a testament to those who have helped me. And I would go ahead and say on here, thanks to my husband. He has been a wonderful partner and encourager for all the crazy ideas I have for projects and things. And of course, my family and those in the rural program who have really helped me, Dr. Florence, Dr. Moore, Carolyn Sliger. Without them, I don't think that this award would have been possible. And it has been a great honor. And I hope that they also feel honored by this award.
Well, I couldn't help but notice Dr. Joe was taking a lot of pictures at the awards ceremony. He's a great guy, and I'm sure a great mentor for you. He's a true definition of a country doctor, but now he's a professor, obviously, at the School of Medicine. But
yes.
I'm sure did Joe and others have a big impact on you with their firsthand experience as being a country physician?
Oh, absolutely. I asked him, we text on a regular basis just to get to know, things that are going on in the area. He is a huge source for East Tennessee State on what it means to be rural and what it means to be a country doc. Just working with him, he is someone who really inspires me to continue following my passions in rural health. He's the one who actually encouraged me to do the different studies I've done and projects in both Mountain City, Tennessee, and also in Belize. And I really am grateful for him.
Yeah, that's wonderful to have somebody like that that has the experience he has and willing to share that with you as a mentor, as a professor, and otherwise. So thank you. So you mentioned Belize, the study you did in Belize. Can you talk about the photo voice study that you did conduct in Belize?
Yes, I'll kind of preface what I did, why Belize and all that. ETSU has a little special partnership connection with a nonprofit ministry in Roaring Creek, Belize, a really small rural village. The nonprofit is called Body and Soul Ministries, and their main focus is both supplying education to children and medical care to the area. And I went to Belize during my second year of medical school, and that was the first time. Loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. Was like, I have to go back. Well, next thing you know, I end up going a couple more times and have been now 4 times to Belize since my second year of medical school. Throughout that time, I decided to kind of get to know more about the population I was serving. I think that that's really something I've learned through Rural Track is you kind of have to do a community assessment to understand what does the community want, what does the community need, and what do they think they want and need. And so the whole understanding and the whole purpose of the photo voice study was to have an idea of what are perspectives of individuals in Roaring Creek Belize? And hopefully that will give me ideas and kind of create a conversation for me, ETSU, and Body and Soul, and the people who come there to kind of discuss how can we best improve our service and kind of figure out what they need. And so what I did is I actually got a scholarship, a grant with the Rural Health Consortium at East Tennessee State, and I was able to buy about 15 digital cameras. And what I did is I just randomly asked patients that were in our clinic in Belize if they would be willing to take the camera, take some pictures of their day-to-day lives, such as where do you live? What do you do on a regular basis? Where do you go to school? What does transportation look like? Cooking look like? Your bathrooms, water supply, just kind of everyday things that we think are, basic things. Why would anyone take a picture of them? But they look a lot different than what I imagine. And,
Yes.
my own personal life in my apartment is a lot different from what their house looks like. And I think that my hope and goal was to determine what do social determinants of health look like for them. And so I was able to get about 12 participants who were more than happy to participate. I actually interviewed them before and after we collected photos, and they were able to keep the digital camera, which was pretty cool. And so from that, they really shared a lot of their lives with me. And, through that, I was really able to develop this special connection with these people that participated, but also to be able to learn more about what life is like in Belize. Because if we don't know, we can't best serve them. And I think that's one of the big things that I was able to find out while I was there.
So with the people that you gave the cameras to, were they adults? Were they men? Were they women? How did you make that decision? Did you give any to kids?
Well, the IRB protocol stuff is a hard thing to get through, as I'm sure maybe other people have talked about.
Yeah.
With that being said, and I kind of put it on a time crunch, I to be the safest and kind of have proper limitations, I only gave it to individuals who were 18 years and older.
Okay.
With that being said, if kids run the photos, if I ever use the pictures, I'm not allowed to use any photos with children in it.
Okay. All right.
Instead, I can hear about the lives of their children through interview topics that we discussed. And so, yeah, that worked out. As far as the amount of male to female, I ended up having mostly females. And I'm not sure, I really think that it's because a lot of families in Belize, the mothers stay home and take care of the household and the kids and everything, while the male in the household, if they are married or with somebody, they are out working. And so a lot of times adult males would not even go to the clinic.
Gotcha.
And so you'd have moms with all of their children come, or just women in general who may or may not have kids that participated in the study.
Cool.
So I ended up only having one male, but the rest were all female.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that with us so far, Kacie. Right now, we're going to take a short break. Then we'll be right back to continue our conversation with today's guest, Kacie Hoyle Denton, medical student at East Tennessee State University. Isn't it interesting how Kacie was able to engage the people in Belize by simply giving them a camera and asking them to take a picture? What a creative idea that was. Are you looking for new ideas, new perspectives? Not sure if your idea is a good idea or a bad idea and you'd like to get some feedback before you present it to the board or somebody else? The Rural Health Cafe Mastermind Group can provide you with even more ideas and constructive feedback on the ideas that you bring to the table before you present them. Now, we're in the process of expanding our mastermind groups to include specialty groups like a CEO group, a provider group, a chief nursing officer group, basically whatever type of group you might want. We'll continue to have diverse groups too, with rural health leaders from a variety of positions. Now, regardless of which type of group you might want to join, participating in the Rural Health Cafe Mastermind Group is all about giving back and helping others. Everyone gives, everyone receives. And not only will you grow as a leader, but you're also going to be helping Rural Health Leadership Radio achieve its mission. Our mission is to improve the world by engaging rural health leaders in conversations and learning and research. And the Rural Health Cafe definitely provides a venue for conversations and learning. We simply ask for a tax-deductible donation to join the Rural Health Cafe, as Rural Health Leadership Radio is a 501c3 nonprofit. 100% of your donation helps Rural Health Leadership Radio fund that mission. And on top of that, you're going to become a better leader. Now, I'd love to have you join one of our groups and realize the benefits. And I'd also appreciate your support of Rural Health Leadership Radio. If you're at all interested, simply send me an email to bill@billoxier.com. That's BILL@BILLAUXIER. Now, if you're interested in supporting Rural Health Leadership Radio and our mission, but you're not interested in the Rural Health Cafe, go to our website at www.rhlradio.com and check out our donation page. We offer a variety of options to make donations to support our mission, along with a variety of gifts and bonuses based on your donation level. Now, other services that we provide outside of Rural Health Leadership Radio include one-on-one executive coaching, team coaching, engaged leadership programs, community coaching, strategic planning facilitation, boot camps, and more. So if you're considering investing in your leadership development, we should talk. To schedule a no-obligation discovery call, just simply send me an email to bill@billoxier.com. That's BILL@BILLAUXIER.com. Thank you. We're having a very interesting conversation today with our guest, Kacie Hoyle Denton. Kacie is a medical student at East Tennessee State University, and she's in the rural health track there. And right before the break, Kacie, you were talking about the photo voice study that you conducted in Belize. Sounds very interesting. Lots of interesting pictures. So what were the big takeaways from your study?
You know, I gotta say I was amazed and in awe of how little they have, yet how resilient they are. I think that's something we can also reflect back toward how we perceive people in rural communities as well. What they taught me was that they are very content with what little they have. My perception is that they don't have a lot. You know, many people, majority of my participants had a bathroom that was outside, had outdoor showers that consisted of a bucket and water, had to walk down the road to get to fresh water from a pipe, which may or may not always be safe to drink from, had their cooking was mainly from an outdoor homemade stove outside. And, you know, my perception was, oh, golly, I don't know how I could live like that. But yet these people, from what they told me, are unbelievably content. I would ask, hey, if you could change anything about your life, what would it be? And more than half of the people said, I don't think I would change anything.
Wow.
And I think that's something really special to take away from, especially for those of us who are very fortunate in other parts of the world, that we need to be more content with what we have, understand what it's like to live with less, and how you can still live a wonderful life with less. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do anything to help those with less, but it was very humbling for me.
Yeah. Were there any surprises, anything that surprised you in your findings from the study or in the process?
Well, I guess I should have known how IRB stuff goes, because that was definitely took a lot. It took a very long time to get all of this together. And, you know, I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to have enough participants. Maybe nobody would even want to do it. And I ended up having 12 participants with all eager to just share their lives with me. And I think that is really special. It was way better than anything I had anticipated. You know, I was like, well, maybe nothing will happen when I get there, and maybe a little something, but I didn't know it would be this great of a return. I mean, I got over 400 something photos to look through, and, you know, we discussed all the pictures. I thought, well, maybe they'll give me like 4 or 5 photos from like the week that they had the camera. And the thing is they had a week to take pictures, and the idea was that they come back to me so we could talk about the photos. And every single participant came back to talk about the photos they had taken.
That's cool.
You know, they could have just been like, who cares? Which is, I told them, I was like, if you don't return, I'm not going to be upset. It is what it is. But all of them came back, and, you know, and like I said before, one of the hugest takeaways for me personally was just how content they were. And I think, you know, learning someone's perception of their lives is crucial to being able to help other people. Because we just can't go on in with our own tote bags of stuff to help people with, and they're like, never use any of it.
Right.
We need to be able to individualize our care for these communities that we go into. And I think that carries over into how we care for people in rural America as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, doing community assessments is vital to caring for these communities.
Yeah, it's not such a bad idea. Even here in the States, we could give somebody a camera to share their life with us. Certainly give you a better understanding of the social determinants that are determining their well-being. When the people came back with the cameras to share the photos with you, I mean, it sounds like they were all more than eager to share the stories that went along with those photos. Am I reading that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know, and a lot of people were proud. Like, oh my gosh, this is my house. Look at what I have. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, you have a 1-bedroom home. And when I say 1 bedroom, I actually mean 1 room with a little curtain in the middle, and everybody shares a bed. And yet they are just so excited to show me that, wow, look, this is what I have. Look at the dinner I made. It was rice and beans, you know? Mm-hmm. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So, you know, it sounds like a very illuminating experience, as well as lessons learned with the IRB. I mean, everybody in academia, the first time you go through that process, that's always an interesting process. So what can rural health leaders and providers here in the U.S. take away from your study?
I think it's important to grab perspective, to take it and use the perspectives of those in the communities we're serving. Understanding what they go through is important to understanding how we can best care for them. And, you know, why are people so content in Louise? I'm not sure. Maybe there's a factor in which people aren't aware that they have other needs because they don't know that there are other things out there. That could be a possibility. But I think that that's also true in rural areas. Like, people don't have time to think, okay, do I get food today or medicine? When the obvious answer is going to be food. Mm-hmm. And so we need to understand, how can we give them better access to the things they don't have money or time to even think about, because there's other more important life survival things that need to be met, needs that need to be met first.
Thank you, Kacie. So, Kacie, in your education and your research and your life, you've seen a lot of things in rural, not just rural America, but rural Belize as well. What scares you the most about the future of rural health?
Well, I'm worried, that it isn't going to change. Sometimes I feel as though, and this can be true in many fields, but we try as hard as we can. But at the end of the day, there is this huge lack of health insurance, and in rural and impoverished, for these rural impoverished residents. And therefore, there's a lack of health care as a result. I just hope that what little things we're able to do to help these people, that it's not just a Band-Aid on top of a bursted pipe, that we're actually able to contribute to fixing those pipes.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So let me flip that question around and ask you this. What excites you the most about the future of rural health?
Well, I would say Pretty much the opposite of what I said. I love rural health. I'm really grateful for the strides that we have made thus far. I really think that rural health is a topic that is being talked about more, whether that unfortunately be in the case of diabetes and opioids. At least we're talking about it.
Yes.
And I think that's something we need to keep doing. I love hearing the stories of other people. I think that that is a huge motivating factor for anyone working in rural health to continue on the good fight in helping these individuals who live in rural regions. One of the best things that we can do for rural health is talk about it. And I really do feel awareness is crucial. And as awareness continues, that is really going to affect how rural health changes in the future.
Kacie, if our listeners only take one thing away from our conversation today, what should that be?
Continue to connect with members in the community. Form relationships with people. Learn from their perspective so that you can best learn how to serve others and thereby leading them. I really believe this is how we keep the torch burning for rural health in America.
Kacie Hoyle Denton, medical student at East Tennessee State University and recipient of the 2019 National Rural Health Association Student Achievement Award. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate you sharing your story about your experience in Belize and your observations on rural health care. And I want to thank all of you out there for listening today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, whatever your favorite podcast app might be, and subscribe to Rural Health Leadership Radio. And while you're on Facebook today, check out our Facebook page. Yes, Rural Health Leadership Radio has a Facebook page, and we love likes. Until next week, let's keep working to improve rural health, one conversation at a time.
If you would like to connect with today's guest, please send an email with your contact information to bill@billoxier.com. If you would like to be a guest or suggest someone else as a guest, have a question you would like to ask, or simply want to contact Rural Health Leadership Radio, please use that same email address, bill@billoxier.com. That's BILL@BILLAUXIER.com. You can also visit our website at www.rhlradio.com.
And we'd ask that you please support our sponsor, the Dynamic Leadership Academy for Rural Health. The Dynamic Leadership Academy for Rural Health's mission is to improve rural health, one leader at a time.